All right, lesson 2, we're going to be using the same set of data, the cost of tuition at the UW system schools, and this time we're going to apply some transformations to our data and see what happens to our measures of central tendency and dispersion. So, first idea here, suppose that in 2 years, when many of you will be freshmen in college, the cost of tuition in all UW schools will be $250 more expensive per year. What will the cost of tuition in each of those 13 schools be in 2018? How will that change in tuition change the statistics, we previously found, being the mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, and outliers. So, the first thing you need to do is fill in your table in your notes with the correct numbers. Now, I've got them blocked out here. Trust me, I have them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to find them on your calculator quickly and easily. So, trusting that you still have your set of data from the first lesson. If I were, you go to Stat and then Edit, you'll see the two lists. Stat, Edit, there's List 1, List 2, and so on. List 2, List 3 I have populated at the moment. I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily do that. So first I'll clear both of those lists. So here's List 1, the numbers from the first lesson where we had the cost of tuition at the UW schools. Given that that's all entered, what we're going to do is we're going to change every item in a list by using some list mathematics. So all my items are in list 1. So I'm going to change the numbers in list 1. First of all, by selecting them. So L1 on your calculator represents list 1. So L1. Now what I'm going to do is I want to add $250 to every item in that list. So I take that list, L1 plus 250. Now hitting enter would just give me the list, but more specifically, I want to be able to work with that list within, my statistics menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store these data values. Before you hit enter, you're going to click the STO button for store. What happens is you'll see this little arrow. So what's going to happen is it's going to take L1, the list 1, plus 250, and store it. I want you to store this new set of data as list 2. Okay. Hit enter. You'll see the new list. Here's all the new, dollar amounts, the new tuitions at the UW schools. And now if I go back to my Stat Edit menu, you'll notice that those numbers populate list 2, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find all of our measures of central tendency and dispersion for the items in a new list. Go back to the main screen. We're going to go to Stat, Calc. We're going to calculate the one variable statistics, just like we did in the first lesson. The difference being, don't use list 1, use list 2. Frequency list, don't need it. Let's calculate. Hit enter. So all of our different pieces of information that we needed, mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, outliers, all that stuff, can be found right here once again. So we'll start with the mean. We have a new mean of 85.67, and we'll round that to 85.68. How about? So 85.68 is our new mean. I'll type that in here. And we'll move it. There we go. A new median of, we'll have to scroll down a little bit to get the median, 81.88. All right. 81.88. A new mode. The mode, you remember it doesn't necessarily show up on the calculator, but it's the new value. So at this point, I will delete my box hiding all the numbers, and we can pick out the mode. Well, the mode was the one that shows up more than once. Oshkosh and Platteville, remember, charge the same thing, so that's our mode once again. It's just 77.38 this time. So 77.38 is our new mode. The range would be the difference between the minimum and the maximum. So if I check out my minimum value, my maximum value, I've got a maximum of 10,666, do a little off-screen calculation here, minus a minimum of 7,592. That gives us 3,074, which is the range between those. 3,074. Our standard deviation, remember there's a long formula for it, or we just trust our calculator to do that for us, because calculators are good for that. Sigma x, or standard deviation, 903.74. 903.74. Now, as far as outliers are concerned, when we did this in the first lesson, there were no outliers because there was no cost of tuition that was super inexpensive or super expensive compared to the rest. I just took $250 and added it to all the tuitions. Do you think there's going to be any outliers? No, because they're all just going up by $250. Nobody's going to be way beyond or way below the price at all the others. So as far as outliers are concerned, there are still none for this set of data. Now, as you look at these numbers, I want you to look back to your notes from lesson 1, the first set of videos. When we did these same numbers, we found the mean, median, mode, the standard deviation, and the range for the UW schools before we added 250. They looked like this. Our mean was 83.18, our median 79.38, and our mode 74.88. Now, compare these numbers to our 3 new numbers. Okay, do that on your own. Pause the video, check it out. How does the new mean compare to the old mean? New median compare to the old median? New mode compare to the old mode? Okay, pause, check that out. All right, hopefully you figured out the little pattern that existed there. Now, what about the range and the standard deviation, or measures of dispersion? Well, if I go back to the measures of dispersion, I had 3,074 for the range. Ooh, that's the same. And my standard deviation was 903.74. Ooh, that's the same as well. Outliers, there were none, there's still none. See any kind of pattern going on here with what's happening? We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Now, we're going to do the next example, where instead of adding a constant of $250 to every tuition, let's say they go up by a certain percentage. So let's say our tuition goes up by 3.4% for all the schools. Okay. Well, before I give you again the list, do a little bit of work here on our calculators. Let's do some list math again. Let's take the numbers from list 1, our original tuitions, and raise them by 3.4%. Now, that means we're going to multiply by 1.034. Okay, I want, I don't have I'm adding 3.4%, which means really I'm going to have 103.4% of what I had before. Multiplication will take care of that. I will store those values. No need to hit second, just store. Store them as list 3. Okay, so we didn't lose a list 2. Hit enter, new values. Stat, edit, check list 3. There they all are, our new values. No, it's a little bit more expensive at each of the schools, but not a ton. It's a percentage, so each school is going to be just a little bit different. Now, let's calculate all of our stuff once again. Stat, calc, 1 bar stats. L3 this time, our new list. Frequency list blank. Calculate, hit enter. And we've got new stuff to write down. So 8,600 will be our new mean. Okay, we'll jot these things down. 8,600, our new mean. Our new median is going to be, scroll down just a hair, 8207.89. 8207.89. 8207.89. Okay, our new mode. Again, you got to pick it out from the list yourself. So at this point, I will reveal all the numbers. Again, Oshkosh and Platteville charge the same thing. Once again, that's our mode. Okay, so the schools that have it don't change, but the value does just a little bit. 7,742 and about 60 cents. Our range has changed, I think. So let's check that out. For our range, we're going to take, again, the maximum minus the minimum. Off-screen work here. 10,770.14 minus 7591.63 gives us 3178 and 51 cents. You can check that on your own if you don't trust my calculator. All right. So there's our new range. Okay. Our standard deviation, remember that's found in the calculator, sigma x, 934 and 46 cents. 934 and 46 cents. All right. Outliers. Is anybody going to be an outlier anymore? Still no. Nobody is way, way, way inexpensive or way, way, way expensive compared to the rest. So outliers, we still say none. Now, take a second. Compare the mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation, all 5 of these now, to the numbers that we had for the first example. How do they compare to the original mean, median, and mode? How do they compare to the original range and original standard deviation? Okay. Now they're all different, but how different? Pause the video, think about it, try a few things, and then come back to the video when you're ready. All right. Now, I want to go back just for a second to the adding $250 part. When we added a constant value to our cost of tuition at each of the schools, our mean, our median, our mode, they all changed. They're all $250 more expensive because we added $250 to everything. So the mean goes up by $250, the median goes up by $250, the mode goes up by $250. All of them go up by the same thing, by $250. My standard deviation and my range, however, did not change. Basically what I did is I took this set of values that was right here and I added $250 to it. So it moved it up just a little bit, okay, which means it added, all of my measures of central tendency went from being here in the middle to being here in the middle. Okay, try to match that up. There we go. Now, my range, the distance between the bottom and the top, didn't change. My standard deviation, the difference between each individual point in the center, didn't change either. So you could say in general that if I add a constant to a set of data, I can add the same constant to the central tendency measures. Okay, but the measures of dispersion, standard deviation, range, and outliers don't change. Okay, if we multiply by a constant like we did here, we made it 3.4% more expensive, we multiply by 1.034, you could notice that the mean, median, mode, range, and standard deviation are all 1.034 times the initial number. So if I multiply by a constant, I multiply the central tendency and the measurements of dispersion by that same constant. So that's applying some transformations to data either by adding or by multiplying and then still finding our different statistics. Hopefully that'll be enough for you to complete the worksheet. Good luck.